This is the Aptitude Outdoors Podcast, where we interview conservationists, hunters, anglers, and outdoorsmen and women to bring you the greatest stories, information, and advice from the best in the world. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Aptitude Outdoors Podcast. We are here on location in Salt Fork State Park, here with my good friends Mike Balonek, Seth Geib. I think I finally said it right. Hanging out once for the first time ever. We're having a awesome boys day. We came down to Salt Fork and we're just filming the crap, getting a bunch of B-roll of cool outdoors nature stuff, and it's been really fun. Start with you, Mike. What's your favorite part of the day so far?
Honestly, probably the sunset that we just got. I think that was it was pretty nice. I mean, it would obviously kind of be better if we were on this side of the lake, but we wanted to check out sunrise spots. So I think tomorrow morning we got ourselves a nice spot picked out and worked out. I got some nice shots of you guys fishing too. So
Nice.
I think the interview went really well too.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something you want to discuss on the podcast.
Yeah,
but I think
we filmed the interview
we did today went really well. That was really interesting. Specifically, the stuff that he told us off camera was a lot more interesting than the stuff that he told us on camera. But
you'll never know about it.
She's seen it.
Talk about it.
Cool. Especially how creepy it is. I don't know that I want to talk about it. Like, am I gonna be getting weird phone calls?
Yeah. And it's, I don't know, it was just cool being out here. We're basically practicing our filmmaking skills because we don't get to do it much. Seth?
Yeah.
What about you?
I think to my character as it is anyway, like, I think probably the hike.
It was a hike.
I mean, that's just like, I don't know. That's what I enjoy the most about being outdoors. But yeah, the hike was probably the highlight for me. So we did, here in Salt Fork, we did a little blue loop. It was like 1.5 miles, right, I think. Kind of up and down, a little bit of hills.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely wrenched my ankle.
Yeah, you did.
Hurt so bad. I was trying not to be a wimp out there. It was killing me.
Yeah. Is it good enough?
Oh, yeah, it's totally fine. I walked it off. But every time I go on any sort of like, any trip, it doesn't start out unless I just absolutely destroy my ankle.
Yeah.
You know, that happened.
You and my dad would get along on a hiking trip. He literally has ended all of our hiking trips early because he's hurt himself.
Yeah, it's just part of my, ever since I did the AT, my left ankle is just completely screwed up. I really, like, I've told the story a million times, I really, like, wrecked it bad.
He's just, you sprained it a lot on the AT, like, the little sections that we've done, like, I mean, that's basically it, is you just kind of learn to, like, give whenever you start to feel like sprain.
Yeah.
Well, any time I do something, I'm like not paying attention. I will, like, every time we go somewhere, I roll my ankle, and it just, it like, now that I've rolled it, it rolls all the time, and it sucks.
Doesn't help when you're carrying like 20 pounds of gear.
Yeah. A backpack full of cameras and
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, I liked the hiking stuff. I hated the drive because it was like a 4-hour drive. I hate driving. I think I liked, my favorite part of the day probably was the interview because I like doing that, and then fishing.
Yeah, I was gonna say you didn't say fishing.
I love fishing. Like, I didn't catch shit. I didn't even get any bites or nibbles or nothing, but I was like, I only brought my fly rod, and it's a tough time to fish right now because it went from, like, last week it was in the 70s and it was like 50 when we walked outside earlier. It was like really cold. The temperatures are just all, like, in the mornings they're probably like in the high 30s.
Yeah.
And then in the, like, right before the peak of the day, it was like 60 or something. So the temperatures are just all over the friggin' place right now, and it's a brutal time to fish. You caught one.
Yeah, a little sunfish.
Little blue boy.
Yep.
Yeah, those are fun. So we kind of last minute decided to do this podcast, and it's probably going to sound like absolute dog shit because we're using, like, all cobbled together mics. Like, I didn't plan to do this, but so recently, if you listen to the podcast, you know I put out a podcast with Chester. We were in Colorado. We just put out a film called Flying Upstream. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch this one, like 15 minutes. It's not going to ruin your day. Well, it might. I'm not judging that. So Seth was part of that film. We went to Colorado. And kind of like your stories. Oklahoma. Yeah, I just went to Colorado. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. we went to Oklahoma. Dear God. And the premise we were working around with the film was it was your first time fishing, Seth, in what, 20 something?
24 years.
24 years. It's a different number. Everybody said a different number in the film. I totally missed that one. But like, whatever, 24 years without fishing, and then, you know, you kind of got roped in by meeting me to fly fishing and then fishing, and now I think you're doing the right thing by mostly favoring spin fishing. I think that's the right way to go, because like today, you caught fish. I didn't catch any fish, you caught a fish.
Yeah.
And I think that film is like cool because we're all kind of on like a level playing field, because fly fishing is like, Chester had been fishing Chester's been fishing his whole life. I've been fishing half-assedly a lot of the time for my whole life. And then I really got into it in the last like 5 years, like actually enjoying it and doing it. And then you're kind of like reinvigorated by doing this. So what was that experience like for you, kind of going out of your comfort zone and trying something completely new with fly fishing as your first reintroduction?
I think it helped, actually. I think it helped kind of break up my preconceptions about fishing. Because, I mean, I'd fished with my dad and with like high school friends and middle school friends, stuff like that. And we all just did spin fishing on cheap rods. And I kind of established like, you know, what I thought about fishing, right? So, and I kind of felt like obviously I fell off that wagon when I was like 16. So, I think having fly fishing be the reintroduction was actually helpful, because it was kind of approached it from a new light. It is much more challenging, but you know, since I'm older, like I appreciate that challenge, and I can come at it with a little bit more patience than I did even with spin fishing as a kid. So yeah, I think it was a good way to reintroduce me to fishing. So I'd highly recommend that to anybody who may have, you know, fished as a kid, but didn't really see the challenge in it, or, you know, didn't really, you know, see the aspects of it, of like being outdoors and in nature and being in tune. Like fly fishing definitely helps with that.
Well, just like knowing you in general, like you're a very gadgety guy, and I think fishing is good for people like that, because like it's full
good or bad.
It's like especially fly fishing is very gadgety. Like when I think of traditional like spin fishing, I'm thinking like fish finders, boats, you know, you have all these different rods, like light all the way to heavy. You're using different types of line, fluorocarbon braid, mono. Very gadgety. And you get into fly fishing, and it's quote unquote simpler, which is bullshit. It's like very much gadgety, and like you have all these little trinkets you wear all over you, and you're like have these little vests and line. It's the same thing. It just translates differently. So like I think it's good for people like that, because it also, like, we're all very gadgety with cameras and stuff and audio equipment. Like we kind of all do that as our job in some capacity. And then like fishing is just like an extension of that, because we get to toy around with stuff and play with stuff. So like, do you enjoy the gadgety part of it? Just because I know you, like, you're a gadgety guy.
Yeah, I do. But I think you bring up a good point, and I actually hadn't thought about this previously, but I think if you're doing like traditional fishing or traditional spin fishing, and you want to be, you know, high tier, high level, whatever, like you have to spend a lot of money. Like you have to go out and buy the bass boat. You have to go out and buy like, you know, a huge outboard motor, and, you know, like I think you could actually argue that, I mean, to the contrary of like what most people think, like people think fly fishing is like this super expensive, snooty sport. I think honestly, like if you're going for like the gadget stuff and you want to spend money, like I think honestly traditional like spin fishing is probably more expensive. I think where the shift happens is with fly fishing, instead of, you know, buying the boat or whatever, like buying the bass boat or whatever like that, like you can fly fish from the shore. I think what you end up spending more money on is trips and like going out to different places and different locations. And quite frankly, like I'd rather spend my money on that than spend my money on a boat, because I get to go see different places and like go to Oklahoma with two people. Two psychopaths, and do something I've never done before. So Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I like the gadget part of it, but I like that fly fishing, frankly, for me, like it's less about the gadgets and it's more just about kind of being outdoors. But yeah, I mean, I'll always enjoy spending, money on like $7 on a single fly or something like that. It's kind of cool, but yeah,
So
it's fun.
it in a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and conversely, it's funny because Mike just like has no interest in fishing at all. What? Like, what's your aversion to fishing?
I mean, I don't eat fish first off, and I don't.
So you're like the opposite of a pescatarian.
Yeah. I mean, and I also just like they're gross to me. Like I don't want to touch them. I don't like the way they look. None of it. Like they're just not creatures I want to have anything to do with. Yeah, you don't spit that out anywhere, but that's funny. Yeah. So I mean, that's basically it. It's like, I mean, I have no problem watching people do it. I have no problem like filming you guys while you're doing it. I was getting some good shots. I snuck a few of that other guy that was out there, the old man. So but it's all cool. And I mean, the nature part of it, like that was the one thing that I did like growing up when we would go fishing is like just sitting out on a quiet lake in a boat by yourself. Well, not by yourself, but like with you and your uncle or you and your grandpa, and like all you hear is the loon. Yeah, fucking bad words.
Apparently, you never listen to this podcast. No, it's like 90%. But yeah, I don't know. It's not. It's just like the side of the outdoors that's like killing stuff and catching stuff isn't for everybody. I mean, there's like a whole general part of society that's like not into that.
To be fair, I have more of a curiosity about hunting, only because like I like the subsistence aspect of it, and like if I had ever needed to live off of the land, like that would be a good skill to have. Obviously, like that makes no point to me as I don't like fish, so I'm not gonna fish. Like that's not anything I'm gonna use to live off.
You want to utilize whatever it is that you're catching,
right? And so like that would be my main purpose in wanting to learn that. And that I do have an interest in that as a possibility in the future. At this point, probably not immediately, because I'm not about to go out and buy the stuff to do it, take the training to do it and all that stuff, because I have other things going on. But it's definitely a one-day thing that I think about sometimes.
Yeah. No, I think that's what got me, like, besides you just pressuring me to do it. But I think that's what got me into hunting too, is just like, and I've said this before on other interviews and whatnot, but I mean, it's really just about taking responsibility for sourcing what you're eating.
No, I mean, I liked that point you made in your guys' documentary about that. Like knowing where you got it from is important. Like I understand too, like the feeling you got is like taking a life. Yeah, and like I think that's also an important thing to recognize. Like I don't want to go on like wantonly killing things, but like. If it's for my own subsistence, I would rather it be in that context than maybe like trying to live off of factory farms and that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of that, we're working on a film together, Mike and I. We're just like
nice segue.
Trifecta of
that wasn't intentional either. Just I had to throw that out there. I realized it after the fact, but anyway, sorry.
I'm just that good, babe. No, I'm just kidding. So. I guess you haven't really announced it yet, Mike, but I've been helping you. So I like with a lot of the other stuff, it's kind of that I've done. Like the first documentary that you just referenced that Seth and I did with our friend Chester isn't out to the public yet because we're trying to get it in some like film festival stuff. Yeah. So like nobody's seen that except for like a handful of people that were in it and released and stuff. The fly fishing documentary is out. The documentary. Those are kind of like things that Seth and I spearheaded and like took on. Like the first one definitely was like Seth and I came up with this idea and like filmed it. Right. The fly fishing one was kind of more so Chester's idea, and like I ended up doing a lot of the editing and stuff. Seth filmed the majority of that because I was just being a lazy asshole. Fishing. And this documentary you're working on is fully your idea. You took the charge, and then I just offered to help you film.
Yeah, which
is fun. So like whatever you're willing to divulge, what's the premise? Why are we doing this? Because what Seth and I are doing more for like conservation, like hunting and fishing, like intensive use stuff is like kind of what we've been doing lately.
Right.
And what you're doing is more on the environmental impact side of things. So like, which I also have a huge passion for. So like, what's the premise of that?
Okay, so at this point, like I got all my domain names and usernames on social media secured, so I can actually announce the name. I'm calling it The Big Problem in the Great Lakes, and essentially it's about the algae issue that Lake Erie's been experiencing for the last probably about 15 years now, and it's kind of gotten on and off worse and that sort of thing. So back in 2014, Toledo, Ohio experienced a water crisis. We lost our water for 3 days. We couldn't drink it. We couldn't do anything with it because an algae bloom basically parked itself over our water intake in Lake Erie, and there's no way to treat it. We had no one had planned on that, despite the fact that it was a very real possibility of happening. The state EPA had no regulations on how to deal with that. And so the city kind of had to just shut things down for 3 days and figure out how to fix this problem. And obviously nobody was prepared for this. Stores ran out of water incredibly quickly. The National Guard had to come in with tanker trucks full of water and basically give that to people for 3 days until we could figure out what to do. And so my film in particular, I talked to one activist who's been dealing with this for about 10 years now. I talked to the mayor of Toledo, the current mayor of Toledo. Unfortunately, the mayor at the time passed away, so we couldn't talk to him. But we talked to a scientist from the University of Michigan who specifically works on the algae issue in Lake Erie and the Great Lakes in general, too. So, and then we actually got a chance to go visit a farm, which I thought was really cool, too, to kind of show that, because this issue, I should mention, is caused by agricultural runoff, to show that there are good farmers out there who are trying to do best practices that prevent this sort of thing from happening. So we tried to kind of cover the whole issue from all sides, cover both sides of the issue. We have some people are opposed to factory farms, which have been a huge responsibility of all of this, and that some people who are kind of think that's just a reality we need to face. And so we cover it all. I think we both did a really good job of like getting all of the shots that we need to show that, as well as getting the interviews. I think the interviews were great. I think we both did a really good job of lighting that, and all of the technical details I'm really proud of that we did a really good job of. So,
do you mind me mentioning who the farmer is?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, he's obviously been on your show, so he knows.
Yeah, so
wake up early before the sun comes up. Yeah. Then you drink a little coffee, fire the gator tail up, then you hit it on out where no man goes.
So if you want to go back and listen to the episode, it's Tony Ruffing. He's basically the founder of Ohio Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. He's also a cow farmer. We go into super detail, and that's what gave me the idea, because Mike was looking for a farmer to talk about this issue. And I thought, Tony's a super cool dude. He was involved in the world I live in, which is like the wildlife conservation, hunting, fishing. And he's just been like a really awesome guy to me ever since I talked to him. And like, he also is just like he has a good heart, and he cares about not only the farming side of things, but he cares about the Lake Erie issue.
Right.
And he is like,
he seems like a bigger picture kind of guy.
Well, yeah, he's smack dab in the middle of the issue though, because it benefits him to have healthy and clean water, because he hunts for waterfowl, he fishes.
Yeah.
Like, benefiting having clean water and stuff for not only his family and wildlife, like everything involved benefits him, but he also is like a very responsible farmer. Like, we went to his farm, and they showed us around for like 4 or 5 hours.
5 hours for sure.
And
but like everything too, like they didn't really
very transparent.
they weren't hiding anything. There was a big pile of manure, and he explained that. He explained how it worked. He explained where they store it in the summertime, where they have to store it in the wintertime, all the regulations and stuff for it. And yeah, they were really thorough about it. I was glad about that.
Well, the thing that's like for me is it all is interrelated. Like a lot of people that are in the environmental movement per se, that are more of your like granola hippie type, that what people would say in the hunting and fishing and wildlife conservation world, it goes both ways. Like that's always what I'm trying to like say is like the three of us are very different in a lot of ways of like what we do. Like Seth just started hunting and fishing recently. You don't hunt and fish at all, but you're not opposed to hunting and fishing.
Right. I mean, I understand the purpose of it. So
yeah, I mean, you want the same outcome. It's just for different reasons.
Right. Yeah. Like I want healthy wildlife populations. I also don't want people to die of water poisoning.
Exactly.
The freaking lake.
And that to me is why it was important for me to have both the activist and someone like Tony, who was a farmer, hunter, that sort of thing. The hunter thing wasn't a priority, but that was kind of a nice bonus that we got with him, you know, that he had that conservation aspect in his repertoire. And so it really kind of made the whole interview with him really well-rounded.
Yeah, I would 100% agree.
My favorite part too was that pasture that he took us down to at the end there. It was like he called it an old growth pasture, which I mean, I've never heard the term for a pasture like that before, but I mean, it makes sense. Like this was probably something that was historically a pasture, grassland at some point. And he was really, I liked how proud he was of how they were managing it. And it was a beautiful spot. The land was really well taken care of. There were wildflowers everywhere. He had a praying mantis hitching a ride on his stomach there for a minute. And he made the point, which I think was fair. That, I mean, these bugs like this are a good sign of a healthy environment. And there's a little creek that ran through there, and that was kind of his point of showing us that this is the main part of where the water runs through his property, and this is how he manages that spot, takes care of it, makes sure that cow manure isn't running into it, etc. And I thought that was a really good way to like literally demonstrate it. You know, like it wasn't just like him explaining it, but he was showing us.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I think too, like, if nothing else, like if someone sees that film and they're a farmer, like it might get them to start thinking about that.
Right. And he did mention that is a bit of an issue. You have guys that have been doing this for a long time. They don't want to change what they've been doing. And I mean, that's understandable. You have done something for a long time. You know a lot about it. But I think with anything, there's always room to learn.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the big takeaways from that for me was the realism, like, of how he was like handling the issue. He's like, there's no way to support this population without having
and that was a really fair argument. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I would say the thing that I took away from it wasn't necessarily that we just need to accept CAFOs, but that if we want to defeat CAFOs, there are a lot of other issues that we have to tackle too. The price of farmland, the lack of people going into farming as an occupation, all of these things prevent us from having a more sustainable alternative.
Yeah. I mean, it's so ingrained in, like, I can't separate my mind hunting and fishing and industrial agriculture. Like, there's no way, because, like, I'm not a proficient hunter. Like, I'm pretty good at fishing. Like, I have a freezer full of fish. Like, it's packed full of fish. Like, the only reason I didn't bring fish to eat on this trip was because Mike won't eat fish. And, like, no, I mean, it's fine. But, like,
I brought the beef. So it's still frozen, but I brought it.
That's why we're doing the podcast, because the bird did not fall in the, like, while we're sitting here. So, but, like, I can't separate that, and I do everything in my power to be able to kill an animal and eat it, to do what I can to remove myself from the system. We're still human on Earth, and I need to be able to eat.
Yeah.
But, like, there's only so much you can do, and, like, I'm not a freaking saint. Like, you know, like,
well, yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody is. I mean, I think you kind of have to be kidding yourself to have that idealistic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there are people who do kid themselves.
Yeah, they're full of shit.
But it's just like, I mean, yeah, you can do those things to try to make yourself as an individual have that impact. But I think, the point of this film, I mean, is honestly just try to help to bring that awareness to other people,
Right.
and help other people understand what the situation is and start to think about it. Because I mean, yeah, you can only make so much of an impact as an individual, but if you can spread awareness and
Exactly.
you know,
I mean, honestly, that's
information.
literally why I wanted to start making documentaries. Is like, I have these skills, and it's like, I am always bitching to my friends about the way things are, and maybe I should do something, you know, like.
Yeah, man, I think a lot of people will say that like that's virtue signaling or whatever, but like honestly, I don't think virtue signaling is a thing. I don't. I think we all have different skills and capabilities or amounts of money that we can invest in things, you know, as individuals.
Right.
Being a filmmaker is, like you said, it's part of the skill that you have.
Yeah.
And using that to help spread awareness. I don't think that's virtue signaling. I think it's just creating awareness and helping spread messages of positivity and ways of changing the environment.
And I think there's ways to go about it well too, you know, like, yeah, you could be like really cocky and arrogant.
Right.
And maybe that is virtue signaling. I don't know. But I think if you go into it with the attitude, like, I wasn't necessarily trying to elevate my voice.
Right.
I was trying to elevate other people's voices. I barely even spoke in the whole thing. Like, I didn't appear in it. I just do voiceovers at a few points where I need to bridge things together.
Yeah.
So, like, the whole point of it for me is to elevate these voices. I think Tony Ruffing and his farm, like, I think that was an important voice to elevate, to show that there are good farmers out there, that people who want to take care of the land. I think having Kim on there and showing that there are people dedicated to advocating for this, even if you don't necessarily agree with her tactics, you know, like, I personally I'm not big into pickety. I don't think that's an effective use of my time, but I have to respect her for putting her time into that, because she is bringing awareness to it. I mean, every single person that drove down the street in that one segment of the film that we did for their little protest, I mean, those were people who were becoming more aware about this issue. That guy that pulled into the parking lot and asked us what was going on, like, that was a perfect moment right there. It was a teachable moment where he could learn something that he didn't know before.
Yep.
So, I mean, they're all little steps, and everybody's kind of got their own little way of doing it, and I think that's an important thing. But yeah, ultimately, like, I just want to make other people's voices elevated in all of the noise.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I like making stuff. That's what I like. Yeah, I enjoy making things, even though I'm like literally exhausted right now. We've been literally
Since 4 this morning.
Since 5 a.m. We've been like literally woke up, hit the road. We've been here all day. We literally got here, hopped in the car, started shooting.
Yeah,
and it's
literally
like, I don't know what time it's 9 o'clock, maybe 8 o'clock.
probably.
And it's 9. It's like, it's catching up with me. And I'm like, but I love doing that. Like, I love making stuff and doing that, because I know the payoff is going to be awesome, like,
right
at the end of it. So, like, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with, I don't think there's any virtue signaling in making documentaries or YouTube videos, because the potential reach is so high.
You're still putting effort into something. I think as long as you're putting effort into something, like,
well, the thing
not signaling anything.
The thing that people don't understand, I think, a lot, is that humanity in general, everything we do is based off storytelling.
Yeah.
Like, you're never going to impact people with facts. And I've had people argue with me about this on the podcast, and I think it's the dumbest thing that you can say, like, people change by facts. Like, you could tell me statistics all day long, and I literally, like, I might give a shit because I'm a fucking nerd, but like, the general population is not going to change by facts.
I mean, anyone who's got, like,
pull on heartstrings and give them a story.
Right. Anyone who's got, like, a remote inkling of, like, an idea of what goes on in American politics knows that facts don't change anybody's opinion about anything. Like, literally don't change it. Like, you just turn on the news for 5 minutes, you'll know that facts don't change anybody's mind.
Yeah. I will never turn on the news.
Please don't. Do yourself a favor and don't watch these.
No, but I think it's important, because, like, if you're not going to tell that story, like, nobody is,
right,
you know? Like, a prime example for probably the majority of my audience is, like, before Meat Eater, there was a ton of hunting and fishing shows. Like, there's been a huge industry. But like what that did is brought a story to it. Like every episode is like a mini doc, and it got people. It got me into hunting. Yeah. People can hate on that shit all they want and say it's like, oh, it's just trendy. Like I watched those episodes and I was like, I could do that.
Yeah.
Like he's just like when I watched it started, I was like, he just seems like a normal guy going out hunting.
Yeah.
And he doesn't always kill stuff. I was like, I could do that. Yeah. I did it. And here I am.
I can go out and not kill stuff.
Yeah. I did it all last year.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because like as soon as you started getting me into hunting, like I was aware of Meat Eater and like I'd read some of Stephen Rinnella's books. But I went back through and like I binge watched like all of those episodes, and I mean it makes it relatable. And I mean I think that's really the thing, is like storytelling, all that does is, I mean, you can say it's pulling on heartstrings or whatever, but really what it boils down to is that it's making some form of that story relatable to the watcher.
Puts the humanity into it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the key, is to help people bridge the gap between, like, I mean, you can, like you said, you can spew as many facts as you want to people, but if those facts aren't relevant to that person's life and the way that they live, it's not going to mean anything. So you have to you have to bridge that gap between, the facts that are happening and making it appeal to that individual. That's the real key.
And it's just like anything. If it's not something that I'm like really inherently passionate about or care about, you can tell me all day long numbers about stuff, and I'll be like, that's cool. But I just don't care that much. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. Like, there's nothing in me that wants to care about this. So, like,
I think there's a trend too with people that are putting out films like we're doing, and like we're aware of it too as we're making these films and coming up with messages. It's like it's all fine and well to tell these stories, and like sometimes they can be kind of depressing. But like, I think the key to that, and the key to making it tie back into someone's life, is to give them some way that they can be active, or some way that they can help prevent these things from happening. Like, make them feel empowered rather than making them feel just depressed, like feel like shit because, oh yeah, the world's going to hell or whatever.
Right.
Like, you have to make them care about it, and then you have to make them feel empowered. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a fine line of building these documentaries that we're building and just being depressing as hell. Because it is depressing topics, but like there is a silver lining, and like there are people out there that do care about these things. Like, like Tony, as a farmer, like he cares about these things, and he's trying to make a change. And I think that letting people know that there are people out there is gives them hope.
Yeah, and
it's important.
Yeah,
I wish people could watch our documentary publicly right now, like the hunting one we made. It's so frustrating not being able to put it out, because I'm used to doing this podcast, which I just like. I can put out whatever I want, however fast I want, at any point in time. I can stop putting it out whenever I want. It's totally up to me.
Right.
But with this thing, like trying to get it into film festivals and stuff, like they don't want sometimes things that are already released. We've almost been done with it for a year at this point. I think it's been like quite a while. We're getting very close to when it was like
3 or 4 months from when we premiered it.
Yeah, premiere. So it's like, it's very frustrating to not let people see it, because if it were up to me, I just want to put the damn thing on YouTube and like just let everybody see it, because it's very much so like what you said, Seth, about like there's a lot of depressing stuff in there about hunting and fishing, and it's basically like, I did not want to be in that film. I've said from day one, I don't want to be in this, because I'm in everything. I'm on camera for the podcast like every freaking time, every week. It's like seeing my own face, and it feels very like vain and stupid, and I don't like it that even. But like, it's not like, if you're not going to do it, then it's not going to get done. So you have to do it. It's like just a trade-off. But like, I was very adamant about not being in that film at all. But they're like, you need somebody to pull this along.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't have any money to hire someone, so it's going to be me again. And like,
well, you're the person that cares about it, so like it comes off, I think, feeling genuine and authentic too.
Yeah, but it's just such a bummer. I want people to see it so badly.
So like, what was your, how would you compare that to like what you were working on with Mike with, where you were just behind the camera? I mean, do you have any preference? I mean, I know you said you don't like to be in front of the camera, but like, frankly, you're pretty good at it.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think everyone would say that's bullshit because I'm on camera every day.
But I mean, so for you, how was that different? And like, what did you enjoy about just kind of being behind the camera versus?
Well, it's just like there's not that
Seth's
pressure.
podcast now.
Yeah, dude, take it over. There's not that, like, you don't have that pressure of having to like be in front of the camera and be like on, as they say. Like, when you get in front of the camera and you're like, you have to be like energetic and on and like.
Hey, what's up everyone? James Appleton here, co-founder of Absolute Aid. Welcome to the Seek to Do More program. This program will help you help yourself by developing the daily habits that will elevate your entire life. Over the next 30 days, you'll complete the doers list every single day. And the doers list includes 1, do something physical. 2, follow and stick to your diet of choice. 3, read a real book. 4, further your education on purpose. 5, dedicate time to your spiritual life. And 6, dedicate time to your hobbies. So if you're ready to take a structured, proven approach to build the daily habits that will allow you to get the most out of yourself, your time, and your life every single day, the Seek to Do More program is your blueprint. So make a choice, commit to yourself, sign up below, and let's get started.
But I think that's one of the things that I like about our like group of people. I mean, you could include like Christy and Alex and stuff into it, and like even Emma and Jimmy. Like, I mean, all these people that are in these groups with us. Like, I mean, we're all there to try to like lift each other up and empower each other. And yeah, it's awesome. I really respect you guys, and I like working with you genuinely. It's a fun experience, and I know that I don't have to worry about people, you know, like talking shit behind my back. Or it's just like, we're all just here to like preach the same message, get the messages out, and ultimately just have fun.
Yeah.
Experience life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard because like this shit is very time consuming. It's like literally all I spend all my time on.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like sometimes stay in touch with everyone.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like in a community of people like that. And it's just like sometimes you feel like, oh man, like I don't know. I've been like not talking to anyone.
Because we're all in that, so like
Yeah.
get it.
Right.
You know? It's
just like insane how much time this stuff takes.
It does, yeah.
It's like it's been hunting season for like 3 weeks now. I haven't been out yet, and I'm like, this is killing me.
I mean, just in a single day for me, like I could start editing. Like sometimes I get up pretty early. Like I might get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and like might start editing around 6. And then I'll like look at the clock and it'll be like 10 o'clock already. I'm like, holy crap, like 4 hours have gone by. And I'm like, and then go back into it. Like it's lunchtime. Like, holy shit, like, what's going on here? Like, I love that. I like when I'm getting into it and like you really have that passion going and like everything's just flowing and you're like, man, it's clicking. But like, you kind of lose track, and like, I can understand, like, you got like a group of people who are friends and like everybody's kind of doing that. You're not going to talk to each other for a couple weeks. Like, everybody's kind of doing their own thing. And that's fine.
It gets really busy.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And then traveling, it just adds up really too much.
But having those same people behind you and knowing that they're there kind of doing the same thing helps motivate you too. So
yeah, and it's cool to have people to bounce ideas off.
Yeah.
Because you just get stuck in like, you've seen something so many times and you're just, I don't know what to do with this anymore.
Right.
Like, the podcast is one thing because it's just like talking in the street, right? But like,
making a documentary is different though. Like, I mean, and especially like having people who are other filmmakers to bounce things off of. Like, I could like show it to my family, you know, like they don't know that much about filmmaking.
Yeah.
They've seen a lot of movies. They know what a good movie looks like, but like they can't put their finger on what needs to be fixed, you know?
Yeah.
And so like, sometimes like my dad, for example, sometimes will kind of like stop me before he even sees the part, because he's kind of anticipating on what he thinks will happen. And then they'll start like, well, no, you need to do like, and like, Dad, just watch it, you know, like, see what I'm going to do first. And so like having people who know the process, understand the process, and like can give good feedback on it, I think is really helpful.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you guys. I'm getting pretty hungry. I think this is food to buy by now. So we can wrap it up. If you guys want to throw out your social media stuff, you can do that. I will post it somewhere. I don't know. My brain's starting to fall apart. Yeah, I'm not used to getting
Post it in the description if anybody's interested.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, guys. We got to get up early as shit tomorrow and go film some more. It's still, we got a long ass drive home. So wrap it up.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Aptitude Outdoors Podcast. If you're getting anything out of this, if you're learning something, if it's helped you in any way, go down in the link below and buy me a coffee. Throw me $1, throw me $2. We greatly appreciate it. Just using it to keep this ship afloat. So thank you very much.